a whole lot. Trial, tribulation, but I know God.
Hey, Reg here, and welcome back to the blog. It's been a week since the final day of my 60-day raw food challenge, and things are still cool. I've been mostly raw still. I just want to let you guys know that. Still, obviously, still vegan, and as I told you guys, I'm going to be exploring, exactly what does it mean to be vegan, and I'm discovering more and more that to be 100% vegan is nearly impossible. But I think the idea of aspiring to a vegan lifestyle is something that I still want to do. That said, I've added some cooked food. Mostly been eating my cooked food after 4 p.m. In fact, I generally at 4 p.m. is when I have my first cooked meal, my only cooked meal of the day, and I've been limiting to that to French lentils and wild rice. A really simple recipe with just, some chopped up onions and garlic, controversial foods, by the way, a little kosher salt, pepper, just keeping it pretty simple, like not even a teaspoon of oil, but that's like mostly to just keep things from sticking to the pan. I don't know, maybe it's not even necessary, and I'll likely try a recipe without that. For the most part, still sticking mostly to raw fruits and vegetables, trying to eat at least 2 full heads of greens a day, and just packing in like the bananas and other fruits like that. Still probably not eating 3,000 calories a day, but just eating when I'm hungry. But that's not what I want to talk about today. I had already told you guys again that I was going to dedicate the channel pretty much to pursuing, the vegan lifestyle, at least for the present time, coming off of the raw food challenge, suddenly having all these questions about what does it mean to be a vegan and wanting to answer that. But before I do that, I do want to, bring up this idea that I'm a queer person. And that part of my identity is going to affect the way that I see the world. And so as I'm as I'm pursuing the knowledge of, I'm pursuing, this, information, I can't help but be struck with what I see as a very kind of limited perspective in terms of like gender and gender norms, and it's what I want to point out as heteronormativity. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but first I'm going to explain where this is coming from before you guys think that I'm just here to preach. I was checking out Rawlings' channel, and he had a video where he was just out on a walk, and he encounters some sheep, and the sheep aren't very nice to him. They run away from him. He just says like these sheep hate me, I think is the name of the video. But he's with a female, or someone who I believe identifies as female, and so there were a lot of comments asking if it was his girlfriend, and he said, no, we're just friends. And it seems, based on comments that people made, that they really wanted to know if there was some romance there, or if there was the possibility for romance. So Brett responded to that by posting another video asking the question, can men and women just be friends? And that really struck me as problematic. Not that there's anything with Brett. Brett was insisting that men and women can be friends. He's insisting that this woman is his friend, just his friend. But that people have such difficulty accepting that. So I did a search on YouTube and found over 250,000 videos asking the same question. So, then I have to start asking, what is with people that were either so fascinated with the question, or just so have such difficulty accepting the fact that there is no reason why men and women can't just be friends. So the top the top result, the number one result that came back was from Soul Pancake, can men and women just be friends, the science of love, which, I thought, oh, there's going to be some science here, but there wasn't really science. But he points out, according to what research, I don't know, that the idea of platonic friendship between men and women has only been around for the past few thousand years. And he actually says, has only been bothering us for the past few thousand years. And before that, there is no ethnographic evidence of men and women having platonic friendships. So it seems that ethnographic is the systematic study, ethnography is the systematic study of people and cultures, basically anthropology. So it was just really nice that he threw in this word that would just kind of maybe make people feel like, oh, he's really smart. He knows a word that I'd never heard before, or whatever. So then, I noticed that he's using platonic, although in the videos that I'd found, no one's using the term platonic. They're just saying, can they just be friends? But so I, checked out platonic, and platonic is free from physical desire. So now the question is, can there be a relationship between men and women where it is strictly platonic? And so then I start to ask myself, well, if being platonic is what defines it as a friendship, then I have to question: can there be a platonic relationship between two queer people of the same gender, when there is definitely the potential of some kind of sexual desire, where there might be, or there might be the potential for sexual desire between them? And I would hate to think that as a queer man, that I couldn't have a friend who was another queer man simply because it doesn't pass the platonic test. So then I start to ask, is there any possibility of a relationship between men and women without physical desire? And is that what makes it challenging for a friendship between men and women to exist? And so historically there is much evidence of culture in cultures where play between men, which is just sexual experimentation, happens. So you have the potential for there to be sexual activity, at least. I don't know, is it based on desire? But sexual activity happening between two men and between two women. But that it's where it's not even considered homosexuality, but it's just considered like play. Does that sexual behavior disqualify the possibility of friendship between those individuals? And if that is then possible between any two people, does it mean that we just can't be friends? So then I just started having to think about, well, then what does it mean to be a friend? And so the friendship seems to thrive in situations where the following four factors are present: common interest. Do we share enough things that we like to do that we can be together doing them, or the possibility of us coming into contact because of this common interest is going to increase the possibility of our becoming friends in the first place. Is there a shared history? Number two, is there a shared history? Number three is common values. Not to say that common values are enough for to build a friendship on, but if the values are too divergent, then it's not likely that the two people are going to be able to maintain a friendship. And then the final one is equality. The sense that we're both bringing an equal value, or whatever that means, but equality, that there is equality between these two individuals that makes it that creates the fertile ground for a friendship to develop. And so then the question is, are we saying that these factors can't exist between men and women, or are we saying that the presence of sexual attraction or the potential of sexual attraction outweighs the importance of these other factors? So then I want to say, are we giving too much emphasis to sex? And If so, how possible is it for any two people to relate to each other without there being some level of desire, which is what I've said before, right? If the presence of any sexual desire or potential sexual desire disqualifies the friendship, then it may be that there are very few truly platonic friendships, and that the question should not be strictly limited to men and women. Unless, of course, one is trying to package an argument for mass consumption as part of a heteronormative economy, and even to reinforce the idea of heteronormativity as the default mode of thinking. And so then I want to just define heteronormativity, and I just pulled it from Wikipedia, and you know, this can be, people can challenge this if they like. Heteronormativity is the belief that people fall into two distinct and complementary genders, men and women, with natural roles in life. It asserts that heterosexuality is the only sexual orientation or only norm, and states that sexual and marital relations are only fitting between people of opposite sexes. Consequently, a heteronormative view is one that involves alignment of biological sex, sexuality, gender identity, and gender roles. Heteronormativity is often linked to heterosexism and homophobia. So heteronormativity is this idea that there are men, there are women, that's it, and there's a certain way that they're supposed to come together, and that's it. Anything outside of that, you know, just get out of here, right? Get it out of here. And, you know, as a queer person, you know, I have encountered, you know, I've just opened, I'm more open to the idea that gender is more fluid than that relationships are more fluid than that sexuality is more fluid than that, and definitely that there are not set roles based on gender. Who you are going to be in your life doesn't have to be based solely on your gender. So that's really my issue with the question. Like, again, I don't know if this gets us any closer to an answer about whether or not there actually can be friendships between men and women. Can there actually be friendships even? I am now left wondering about, you know, how we even value that word. Oftentimes in the U.S., we call people friends who are really just acquaintances. And, you know, Facebook has made friendship possible between people who have never even met. So with that in mind, I want to, you know, one thing that disturbs me is, you know, in terms of those four factors that need to be present, you know, that help in terms of developing a friendship: common interest, history, common values, and equality. It seems to me that the one where there may be a lack between men and women, at least in the way our culture defines gender and gender roles, is that there may not be the possibility of equality between men and women, because men and women aren't considered equals in our society. That's not necessarily something that I believe, but it's simply something that definitely is an attitude that's present in our society. So all of that said, I hope you guys have a lot of comments. I hope you have a lot to say about this issue, and I hope that you have a lot to teach me that'll help me find some clarity on this. So right now, this is Reg. I'm checking out after a little conversation on heteronormativity. I hope you've learned something. I certainly have. Hope you have a great day. Continue to love yourself. And that said, peace out.
And I love my